Every Arroyo Grande show, I ask a list of questions of my guests, the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. I decided to collect their wise answers for you. Jim Caviezel, Jonathan Roumie, Lauren Daigle, and more sound off, and I solve the great you mystery, all on this edition of the Arroyo Grande Show. Come on. I'm Raymond Arroyo. Welcome to Arroyo Grande. Go subscribe to the show now. Turn the notifications on. So much coming. You're not going to believe what's coming in the weeks ahead. Before we do our star-studded Arroyo Grande Questionnaire wrap-up, I saw something on Dax Shepard's podcast the other day that got a lot of people talking. It was about a now famous or infamous U-bit that occurred on Laura Ingram's show a few years ago and involved yours truly. Watch.
Anything fun happened to you?
Yeah. Okay. So you've been gone a couple days.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've watched 2 full seasons of You, the show You, which reminds me I want to play the thing.
That's a show about me?
Exactly. It's about time that we revisit that because I'm watching it.
Oh, it's such a great exchange.
Okay, let's.
Laura Ingraham?
Yeah.
You want me to put on the TV?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can. This is my favorite clip of all time. And now it has extra meaning because I'm watching the show.
Is it a great show?
I love it. It has really Veronica Mars vibes.
Oh, fun.
But it's like Dexter meets Veronica Mars. But I've never seen Dexter.
Okay.
Okay, let's watch this real quick.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching an episode of You where measles came up.
Wait. When did I mention measles?
I don't know. It was on You.
Wait, what was on me? What are you talking about? What is
Measles and the vaccine
I never had the
episode
measles.
was on You.
We never did a measles and vaccine episode. Is this a joke?
I know.
don't know what you're talking about.
It was on You. It was on You.
I've never had, Raymond, I've never had measles. What are you talking about? Stupid.
It was an episode of a show, Laura.
What's it called?
You.
Don't show up measles. I completely give up. We gotta go.
It's a show called You on Netflix.
It's a show called Laura Ingraham.
I'm moving on to Adele. I can't explain this to you.
What was he talking about? So stupid.
It's so funny.
It's a real life Who's on First.
It really is.
Yeah.
I still laugh when I watch it. I wish I could tell you it was totally organic. But full confession, well, let me get to that in a moment. When it first aired, it got tens of millions of postings. Late night shows commented on the thing, and I still get stopped at airports and asked, "Are you the You guy?" Well, let me solve the mystery. I actually wrote that back and forth on a plane as I went to do Laura's show live. I remember telling Laura, whatever you do, don't break character and stay committed to the argument, which we both did. And it worked like a charm. Though I have to tell you, honestly, we did that live with no rehearsal, no edits, without a net. And when it was over, because of the satellite delay, we were on satellite, I thought it was horrible. I thought it had flopped. I was wrong. As Dax Shepard referenced, it was based on the old Abbot-and-Costello, Who's on First routine. Aha! And if you don't know their comic genius, I'm going to post a clip at the end of the show tonight so you can take a peek at them. As I always say, there's nothing new under the sun. You just missed the first act. Now to our Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Once I started this show, I thought we needed a different way to reveal the qualities of our guest that the interview might have missed. Little tidbits that often get glossated over. This, too, is based on something that went before. It's called the Proust Questionnaire. And that questionnaire was answered in 1866 by French novelist Marcel Proust, for whom it's named. It became a kind of parlor game, though Proust did not write the questions. James Lipton and others over the years have used it to cap their interviews. So when I started Arroyo Grande, I decided to write my own questionnaire, which I add and subtract from, depending on who we're interviewing. I find the answers compelling, insightful, and really like a little confession. You learn a lot about the soul of people if you listen carefully to their responses. With that, here are some of the best answers to our Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Up first, Jim Caviezel. Who's the person you most admire?
My wife.
Why?
She's my life. Pillar. It's not even up to think about that. See, that was a bad question.
Well, I'm starting easy.
I'm not good at these.
Who's the person you most despise?
I've forgiven him.
Another good answer. What is your best feature?
Feature?
Yeah.
Passion? Passion. Yeah, I thought feature.
No, not feature film. Being a smart ass. What's your best feature as a person, as an actor?
As a feature.
It can be anything. It could be a quality. It could be a physical trait. What's your best feature?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
You know what people would say? Your eyes.
They're older.
But that's probably what they would say is your best feature.
But they're smiling.
It depends on if you're the guy you just forgave or not, I guess.
Irish eyes are smiling.
Okay.
You know how it goes? Well, they must be up to something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. What do you fear?
Well, the first thing is Resurrection, the film.
Sure.
Greatest fear.
Really?
Oh yeah. Anything could go on that. Well, you got to remember though, was born to do. So, but greatest fear, I worry. My children, my family. You know, I'm a good husband. A good father. I'm not the best father I want to be. I'm not the best husband I want to be. You know, those are other things. But I do love them deeply.
What is the thing you know that no one else knows?
I've heard other actors say it before. You know, you're going to fail. You know, that it might be a gift that you have, but you're always concerned about that. I just outwork everybody. I think that's a big thing is I have to outwork them, and then the gift takes over from there.
What's your favorite book?
The one I'm doing right now is Screw Tape Letters. It's the one I'm into.
It's a lot of fun.
Well,
it's a fun book, and it's very wise.
Well, it's very wise, but it's getting me ready for the resurrection.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
I'm really studying it. So I'm breaking it apart and going through it and getting into the thoughts of evil, you know, the antithesis of what I'm going to be playing. And there's something, how Jesus works is so simple. There's a reason why I'm doing it, and it's during Lent.
Yeah.
So I'm fasting. So even though you and I are going to go to a nice restaurant after this, I'm not going to have any wine.
Oh, okay. Well,
I gave it up.
then maybe we won't be going to dinner. What is your biggest regret?
I don't really have any.
You don't have a professional regret?
No.
A role you should have taken?
No, because there were reasons for it at the time. They worked out, but it wasn't for me. You know.
No regrets?
I would have had a major regret if I had not married my wife. Sure. That would have been, and that almost happened. You know, I threw it away, but my soul was enough pointed in the right direction where something from above said, you know, gave me a bit of a broken heart and said, she was in the plan for you.
Get back there, dummy.
And I did.
What's the best piece of advice you ever got?
I was talking to this old priest, and he says, Jim, don't start any new addictions. And so I never did.
Well, that's a good piece of advice. What about the old addictions, though?
They're there, but don't add on to them.
Don't add on to them.
Well, because, you know, you think about it, like some people get into drugs and they go, just one time. But if I you measure that and you go, what if I become so addicted to it? How's that going to change my life? Well, just look at the people that they couldn't get rid of it. I was working on a movie called Pay It Forward. Yeah. And I went down to First Avenue, and I was with the people that were heroin addictions, and they're all going to die. And the man that was working with me he looked like he was in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
He was skin and bone. And he was teaching me how to put the tourniquet on and how it looks, and I watched all of them. But I hear people talking about it all the time when they say, this is a pay it forward program, or we're going to pay it forward. And I went, I was in that movie. I played a heroin addict. And I think of that guy. Yeah. And so I always pray for him.
When this is over, what happens?
Again, now I'm thinking way too far out. I want to enjoy the process. I'm so happy that my children get to see, their father at work, but it's a continual thing. I'm not going to play Jesus. I need him to play me. It's the only way that this thing is going to work.
But what happens when this is over?
When this is over?
Yeah.
Who knows? If I'm still an actor, if I can't get a job, just be a dad and be a husband, maybe play a little golf.
We're going to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
That's what happens when this is over. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Pulitzer Prize winner David Mamet had a few interesting comments. Watch this. Okay, there's a series of questions I ask everybody who's here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
This is the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Who is the person you most admire, David?
The person I most admire today?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good question. It's Donald Trump.
Wow. Why? Probably because of what we discussed a little earlier.
Because he looked at something that was impossible, which was the resurrection of, forgive me, I'm going to say it, the American dream, and said, okay, what do we need to have happen? And he was treated worse than any American citizen in history, and nothing faced him. And I heard something Melania said, that he came down before he ran in 24.
Yeah.
She said, are you going to run again? He said, yes. And she said, I hope you don't. And he said, why? And she said, because you'll win. Isn't that great?
Who's the person you most despise?
Well, I despise a lot of people, but when I do, I try to remember that I should probably despise myself first. Because the reason I find their behavior despicable is because the potential, if not the actuality, is in myself. Right? So yes, it's Chuck Schumer.
But spoken like a playwright. I like that. You're empathizing with the bad guy.
Apparently he wrote a book, Chuck Schumer, called Anti-Semitism in America.
He did.
And I thought, how dare he, somebody who's dissed Israel and dissed the prime minister and withheld aid to Israel. And now he writes a book called Anti-Semitism in America. But I read the subtitle says, A Quick Start Guide.
Oh, is that right? It's just a quick start. Well, you got to start somewhere, David.
That's right.
What's the greatest feature and best feature in humanity?
And my feature film?
No, feature like the feature you have, the thing you possess. What is your best feature? Or the best in humanity?
I think I'm very understanding and forgiving to all the swine who don't understand my work.
And you write great books about them, most importantly. Your memoirs are worth the trip. What's your favorite meal?
Oh, that's a very good question. My wife makes this wonderful sardine pasta, sardines and breadcrumbs. It's crazy good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Yeah, it's yummy.
Sardines and breadcrumbs.
Yeah, she's been cooking out of a Sicilian cookbook.
Your favorite book and the last book you read?
My favorite book, golly, I don't know. I read the works of in English of Vasily Grossman last year, who was is the greatest writer of the 20th century. He's a Russian, and he was, among other things, the reporter for Red Star, which was their Stars and Stripes. And he was at the front all through Stalingrad. He was at the liberation of whichever camp they liberated. I think it was Birkenau.
And why did you want to dive into his complete works?
Well, because I read one, then I read them all.
Oh, you couldn't stop.
Yeah.
You binge read him.
Yeah.
Was that the last book you read? Last?
No. What I've been reading lately, Oh, I've been reading the works of Ross Thomas lately, who was an American crime writer. He wrote 40 books, they're a lot of fun. And he also said something, one of the best things I ever heard. He was an alcoholic, and he was at Dan Tanish or something with Ross McDonald, who was another big drinker, the middle of the day. And they sit down in the red booth at Ross, and the waiter comes over and says, "What can I get you, gentlemen?" And Ross Thomas says, "A couple of double martinis." And the waiter says, "Oliver Twist." And Ross Thomas says, "We'll order later." Isn't that great?
It's great. I love it. Tell me, what do you fear, David Mamet?
You know what I think? I think I fear disgrace. I fear doing, and that's what a lot of my reading, especially about the Victorians, and a lot of my writing is about guys who make one false move, how close we are to, that's what film noir is mainly about, how close we are to just stepping off the sidewalk and
right over the edge.
Oops. Right.
What do you know that no one else knows?
Preston Sturges was the great comedic director. His movies are just
brilliant.
You don't even want to watch them, you want to eat them. And he wrote a wonderful movie called Hail the Conquering Hero, where this Eddie Bracken is dismissed from the Marine Corps because he has allergies, and he so wants to be in the Marine Corps, and he's going home, but he can't tell them he's been dismissed. And so these Marines show up and they say, "Come on, we'll put you in a Marine uniform, you'll get off the thing and everything will be fine." When he goes there are these two bands. One of them was playing Hail the Conquering Hero, and one of them was playing the Star-Spangled Banner, or America the Beautiful. And then I was reading a book by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, who I'll tell you about in a second, who describes that same scene, written in about 1885. A hero gets off, and these two bands, one playing Hail. So obviously I know that Preston Sturges read that book.
Read that book. I know, but but the question was, what do you know that no one else knows?
Oh, I know that.
That's it?
Oh, I'll tell you another one.
Okay, give me another one.
This gets a little bit arcane. There was, in reading about the First World War, about flyers in the First World War, there was a ditty. They said he died with his hand on the throttle, and this is the reason he died. He forgot to recall that iota is the maximum angle of glide, right? So the question is, what does that mean? So I'm trying to think, what does it mean?
Iota.
What does iota mean?
You're off by that much?
But what does it mean?
Yeah,
off by what? So, and iota is always written in caps, so I'm thinking it doesn't mean, what is the maximum angle of glide? There's no such thing.
Yeah.
But there's such a thing called the angle of maximum glide. So what's the angle of maximum glide on an airplane, right? It's indicated by the airspeed. Every airplane has a maximum angle.
I see.
You're going to get the maximum glide on this airspeed, because if you increase the airspeed by putting the nose down, you're going to increase the airspeed. But
and go smash.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and you can put the nose up, and you'll be up longer, but you're going to smash too. So I started looking on pictures of old airplanes, and I thought, how would you find the angle of maximum glide? What would iota mean? What would be indicated on the airspeed? So I look on the airspeed, and it is.
It's indicated.
Yeah. So he forgot to recall that indicated on the airspeed is the maximum angle. So I figured that out.
I love that. I love that.
What's it good for? I always thought, if it's not good for anything, I'll remember it.
You'll remember it, and you'll use it in a screenplay or a play, which I will be staying tuned for. What is the greatest virtue?
I think it's courage, don't you?
Honesty.
Uh-huh.
Truthfulness.
Well, the other thing is,
but yeah,
a lot of times you need, perhaps it's the preliminary virtue. If you don't have courage, what good is honesty?
Yeah, that's very true. But if you could live anywhere and you weren't here, where would you be?
Why would I want to live anywhere but here?
I don't blame you. I like it here myself, as a matter of fact.
We live around here. My wife likes it here. I always try to get her out of Southern California. I live here because I want to be close to my taxes.
Well, you can see them being used in such fascinating ways all around you.
I wanted to get a T-shirt made and wear it today, which said "Save water, support Karen Bass." I should have done that.
Next time, we'll do that in the next one. What's your biggest regret? Do you have one?
Well, most of my regrets, yeah. I did a lot of stuff in my life that I regret, and at some point you got to say that God says, I know, But they say prayer and study and good works moderate the severity of the decree. So there's a lot of stuff that I regret. But and then I have a lot of real estate regrets. Of course, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially Californians, they always have those regrets. What's the best piece of advice you ever received, either professionally or personally?
Oh, I wrote these series of sketches that I did in Chicago in a little 40-seat theater with Billy Macy and J.J. Johnston. It was called American Buffalo. It was a series, and then we did it in New York at the...
Oh, that little thing.
No, it was before it was on Broadway. So something called the Showcase Code. For a moment, Actors Equity forgot that they're insane. And so they said, well, anybody can do, in a 100-seat theater, 99-seat theater, anybody can do 12 performances if everyone's working for nothing. So we did this play in this little 12 performances, a little 100-seat theater off Broadway. I thought it was pretty good. And Ulu Grossbard, who was a director, a very good director, came up to me and said, if you figure out the plot, I'll put you on Broadway. And so he did.
That's how it happened. Mm-hmm. If you can figure out the plot, that can apply to a ton of things, David.
Sure.
If you can figure out the plot, I'll put you on Broadway. I will remember that.
Oh, good.
I like that line. If you weren't doing what you're doing, if you weren't writing, if you weren't directing, if you weren't telling stories, what would you be doing?
Well, I don't know. I flew airplanes for a number of years, and I aged out of it. And I loved every minute of it. Had I started 10, 20, 30 years earlier, I would have liked to have been a pilot. I was a pilot. I am a pilot. But what would I be doing now?
Yeah.
That's a very good question, and I think I spend most of my days thinking about it. I'm in the midst of various projects right now. I got a couple books coming out, and I'm doing a lot of cartooning for Barry Weiss at the Free Press.
Yes.
I do a cartoon every week.
I see them. What happens when this is over, David?
When what is over?
When it's all over.
Well, it's never all over.
When it's over for us.
Oh, you mean when we die?
Yeah. What happens when it's over?
Well, I said to my wife, I just hope one thing for you, you don't marry a lawyer.
Is that what you think's going to happen?
I said, if you're thinking about it, I want you to bury me on a rotisserie so I can roll over in the grave all the time.
David Mamet, it's always
What a
joy.
pleasure.
I always love being with you. And
Likewise.
I feel full when I finish talking to you. And it's like when I read one of your plays or watch one of your films, you just feel reinvigorated again. And I think that's the whole purpose, right?
Well, I and all of my people love watching you and Laura play the dozens.
We're laughing through the pain, David. We're laughing through the pain. Thank you. Actor Jonathan Roumie also answered our questionnaire. Who is the person you most admire, Jonathan Roumie?
The person I most admire? There's two, and it would have to be my parents. I think knowing the circumstances that they overcame to make it to the United States and to raise a family and to basically just do everything in service to making sure their children had a better life.
Who's the person you most despise?
Oh, the devil. Yeah.
Okay.
He's always trying to get in my way.
I know the feeling. I've met him once or twice, or maybe more than that. What's your best feature?
My best feature, I think it would be I trust people pretty quickly, and I open myself up to people.
What's your worst feature?
I trust people pretty quickly. I open myself up to people.
When someone first asked me that question and said, "What's your best feature?" I thought physical. I'm thinking, well, my lips. I don't know, my hands. I don't know what. But everybody I ask it to, they go to something much deeper.
Because it sounds prideful to answer it other way.
Oh, is that what it is? Thank you, John. I think Jonathan Roumie just said I'm prideful. Thank you. Well, that's the last question.
That's how I
had a good time.
That's how I feel. I couldn't allow myself to answer it any other way.
Yeah, you wanted to say your hair. Go ahead. But your
People would say my hair.
Yeah. Oh, people. People would say your.
I wouldn't say it.
Not the makeup lady. Anyway, your favorite meal.
See, I just was in Italy. It's a combination of steak and pasta.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good place to be. I'd say pizza. I love pizza. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
what do you fear? What do you fear?
Not fulfilling my potential.
The greatest virtue is what, Jonathan?
Humility.
Mother of all the virtues.
Yep.
The word you could not live without. I won't bleep you.
That was it.
Okay, we'll leave that there then, family. If you could do anything else, if you couldn't do this, what would you do? Visual art?
Maybe musician.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I would have pursued being a drummer in a band a little more stringently.
Wow.
Yeah. I love music. Music affects me in a way that none of the arts do. It's just it's
There's no thought
it's a
involved.
sixth sense,
yeah,
almost.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling. Yeah, you can't. It just doesn't. Nothing else compares.
What's the best advice you ever got? And from whom?
Best advice I ever got. That's a tough one. I think that the best advice I got was get a spiritual director. Yeah.
When did that come?
The one I have now, my spiritual director that I have now, I've had him the longest. But the initial advice I got probably was 20 years ago, and it was many, many years before I could find somebody. I was moving around a lot, and I just wasn't settled in my faith, and I didn't look as hard. And so I think once I was in LA, my faith, funny enough, you know, people think of Hollywood and LA as a godless place, and there's a lot of influence, a lot of dark influences in those areas, in that city. But there's also a lot of light and a lot of people searching for the light and a lot of people fighting the darkness. And the communities that I had, the faith communities that I built and I had and grew a part of, were communities of light. And through those communities, I found my spiritual director, who's been probably about 6-7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your biggest regret?
I think my biggest regret would be that I didn't surrender sooner to God. But also, on the other hand, it's hard to admit that, because, and it's hard to think that is actually true, because, you know, I believe this was my path.
Right.
God allowed me to wander and meander until I got to this point in my life where I finally recognized that I couldn't do this without him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was ready for this next step. So I don't know that I can really say that I have a regret.
A deep regret, yeah. What happens when this is over?
This interview, I'll probably get something to eat.
Don't be a smartass. What happens when the life is over?
When you say this, Raymond, you have to
I'm
be more
leaving it
specific.
open to interpretation.
That's why I said dinner.
Okay. Me too.
When this is over, I hope that when this is over, we go on to the real life, the real phase of our existence, the real purpose of our existence, which would be, for me, to be reunified with our Creator, the source of all life.
Singing sensation Lauren Daigle also took on the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Okay, I ask everybody who sits in that chair these Arroyo Grande questions, okay? These are fast questions.
Okay.
You don't have to, I don't want you to think about them, just jump in.
We call these rapid fire.
Rapid
we
fire.
do them at the Q&A, every VIP. Rapid fire, and it's Lauren, don't take long on this.
Lauren, rapid fire.
Okay.
Who is the person you most admire?
Oh my gosh. I would say collectively my family, if that's okay.
Well, you surround yourself with them.
Yeah.
I've seen you with them, and I love that.
Love it.
That's what I think keeps your spirit intact.
It is.
Because I've seen you in public settings and on tour. That family's always pretty close.
Yes, yes.
Okay, who's the person you most despise?
That's a tough question. You told me not to dwell on it. I don't have, there's like not one person that I can say I despise.
I could think of one, but I'm not going to bring her up. Anyway.
I would love to have a conversation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that off camera. What is your best feature?
Oh, maybe oh gosh, that's tough. I would say I don't know what this one word would be, but my desire to relate to anybody and everybody.
Oh.
What would that?
Accessibility.
Accessibility.
Empathy.
Empathy.
What's your worst feature?
Empathy.
There's a double-edged sword again.
Yes.
Your favorite book and the last one you read?
Okay, last one I read was called Miracle on Voodoo Mountain. It's about this woman from Lafayette, moved to Haiti, started this during the earthquake. Incredible story. Very simple read, really good. Miracle on Voodoo Mountain. It's because when we were at that event, I met one of the lawyers for the Human Trafficking Division of the White House. And I was like, this is incredible to see the work that is done. Her story kind of weaves into that tapestry a little bit. It was really beautiful to me. So I find myself compelled by those stories. Yeah. And then your
favorite book.
Favorite book. Okay, this is a favorite book for nostalgia's sake, if we can do that.
Okay, we can do nostalgia.
Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh, Where the Red Fern
And the
Grows.
reason why is because it's the first book I cried to. I remember laying in bed, I would read it every single night with my mom. Like we would read chapter after chapter. I just loved that book as a kid. And I remember reading the book and having to pause for a moment and us looking at each other. Tears are coming down my face.
Why do you think it touched you that way?
Friendship and seeing loss, real loss, for what a child can understand even in that moment. You know, it was complex to me, but very
What
simple.
does Lauren Daigle fear?
That's a great question. I think I talked with someone about this recently, the fear of the unknown. And that is my nemesis. It's the fear because there's so many things that can fall into that fear. The fear of the unknown, where it once was exhilarating. Yeah. I think now I look with trepidation a little bit.
Well,
like, oh.
Age will do that to you.
I know,
and responsibilities and your audience. And there's a lot more that walks in the door when you walk in now than was before. So that always... What's your biggest regret? Do you have one?
Oh, do I have one? Okay, this is not going to be poignant at all. Okay, this is going to be fear of the unknown, a little poignant. Great. This is just real life.
Okay.
Chris Stapleton. We're in, Chris, if you listen, no kidding. I remember was it right before? It might have been right before 2020 hit.
Okay.
And he was playing the Cajun Dome in Louisiana.
Right.
And I went with my sister. We were backstage. I said hello to him, that whole thing. And he said, hey, you want to jump up on stage with me? I said, no. What is wrong with me? Why? Raymond? Why? I'm in my hometown. People, that's
They would have.
a win
It would have
right
been a
there.
tsunami of love.
And I said,
And you said no.
I said no. And you want to know why? This
No.
is so silly. I thought, what if he asks me to sing a song of his that I don't know? What if he has a song that I'm like, it's the deep cut,
and you don't know
I don't
it.
know it?
Oh, well, that's not a bad reason to say no then.
That's a terrible reason, because any artist would know. I'm not going to put a girl on stage who doesn't know the song.
Right, you'll probably ask you, do you know Swanee before we start?
Yes,
or whatever.
exactly.
That reminds me of something else. I'll come
Okay.
back to it in a second. The best piece of advice you ever got?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking about it today. Someone gave me this advice almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it's still showing up in my life 10 years later. True freedom is giving people the permission to misunderstand you. Wow. True freedom is giving people the permission to misunderstand you. That is the greatest advice, because let me tell you, when I want to raise my fist sometimes, it's because I'm not operating in true freedom, because I'm being misunderstood, and I'm frustrated that I'm being misunderstood in this.
Last question in the questionnaire. What happens when this is over?
When this career is over, when this life is over, when what part is over?
I'll let you define it.
Oh,
That's true freedom.
like that. I like that.
I'm giving you true freedom. What happens when this is over? I think I know what that means, but you may have a different take on it.
Okay. My mind went to two places immediately, so I'll just tell you both, Ann.
Okay.
If that's okay. First went to, if I get
Nail
a different
salon.
career. I am going to the nail salon after this. Oh my gosh. I don't bet. I actually have a nail salon appointment at 6:15.
I know. I've been talking to people who know you well. But go ahead.
Okay.
What
so
happens when this is over?
When this is over, I have thought about going to law school. And I'm really thinking about it. Like, not sort of kind of like, I want to say I'm going to law school. I want to just put that out instead of, I think I'm going to law school.
Why?
I met with some friends of mine, some that are in government, some that are in politics, various people. And to understand what your platform can do from an actual
Statutory
firsthand,
viewpoint.
yes, is important to me. I think I've realized that there's kind of a brick wall you can hit, even with a platform. And if this is a responsibility, like to be able to open ways for people who need true justice, or who need the freedom that we get to walk around with, and protecting the freedoms as well. Like, how do I do that with a voice?
And you're already doing that a little bit. The Price Fund,
Yes.
named after your granddad,
Yes.
Julian Price. Tell me about that.
Love him. Yeah, people think it's about the money. No, it's a family name. My brother and my grandfather. And he was someone, I tell people this all the time. Yeah. He would talk to the president of the United States the same way he talked to the homeless man. We would go to Walmart and he'd be talking to the clerk, just chatting, telling them mainly about the state of the world. He was one of those. But in a way that people loved him. We had people that would come around the table, and we called it his coffee crew. And every day at 9 a.m., the coffee crew would show up. And they would just talk about current events and what's going on with the world. And I lived with my grandparents for a little while I was going to LSU. And they were, it was some of the most incredible moments of my life. But I digress. He was one of the figures that taught me the most about legacy. Because whenever he passed away was when I really found out about ways he was given to people behind the scenes. And for the listener, he was a blue collar worker. He was a conductor on the railroad, and we would go and throw sack lunches to him, and he would do the route from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, and just an incredible human. But he lived a lot of hardship, lost a daughter. He overcame addiction, just a lot. And the person that he became on the other side was the person who I was like, wow, I'm so inspired by him. How do we see this version of someone when they're in the worst of times? Because sometimes you look at an addict, or you look at and you can only see that. But he was actually probably to date the most influential person in my life.
No, I see him in you.
He's
see that.
incredible.
And the fund helps the
yes.
elderly, children. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty
orphans and the widows
wide-ranging.
and all the because I've learned just as I've gone about. I went into some of the prisons. Here I went to Angola, I went to San Quentin, Statesville, various prisons around the country, and I would ask a lot of these guys like, what can we do to help this, to break this cycle? But legitimately, yes, through legislature. But what is the core need of an individual that's coming through this kind of track? You know. They call it the public to prison pipeline. I'm sure you're very well familiar. And I just asked them, what can we do? And they all said, get involved in after school programs. All of them, across the board. They were like, if you get to these kids in an interim period where they're going home from school to their home and their parents aren't there, that's when a lot of the vulnerability
starts.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's when it happened. And so I said, okay, great. Game on.
That's what we'll do.
Let's do it. So we've partnered with so many organizations around New Orleans, but then we expanded, and now every city that we go on tour with, we partner with a local organization, whether it's instruments, whether it's after school programs, whatever it is to keep these kids kind of fortified through their adolescent years. That's really important to me. And then we built a school in the Congo with Bob Goff, which was really beautiful. And then we had another opportunity to partner with some senior citizens who some have Alzheimer's, but it's music with Alzheimer's, and kind of getting them financial aid and things like that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What a year you've had. Super Bowl, Andrea Bocelli at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
I mean, this tour, I mean, it's pretty incredible.
It's been a wild time.
You said something. You said, the Lord has shown me what it is to have a craft and to serve and honor him with it. Do you still feel that way?
Absolutely. I think that I might feel that way till I die. It's the life spring. It's the wellspring of it all. If you don't have the lifeblood, if you will, if you don't, the craft part is the diligence. Okay, I want to honor you with the diligence of working hard at something and loving it, and actually loving it. I think sometimes people think it has to be arduous. No, it's like scrubbing toilets just to hear, what is a C chord? How do I sing this? You know,
How do I support this?
how do I support it? What are the harmonies? Teach me. You know, and that honoring God with the craft, it is the work that you put in to say, I want to do this, but I also want to love it. So I think that's serving it well, the best that you can. I think. Oh yeah, are you going to say?
No.
I was going to say sometimes when you get frustrated about having to work hard at something, it dilutes the potency that God can sometimes build in those moments, you know? So if you just keep the hard work, yoke is easy, burden is light. If you keep it light, then there's a lot that you can do, and there's a lot that you can transform.
Well, on the new album, you have a song called These Are the Days. And I can't help but think these are the days for you.
Oh,
as I watch this, as you listen to it and watch you expand and reach more people. It is incredible. And to get Justin Timberlake to do backups on 21, your song on the album, pretty good.
crazy.
Gary Sinise offered some fascinating answers to the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Who's the person you most admire?
Jesus.
Who do you most detest?
Oh, I can't say that.
Come on.
I can't.
Everybody
Raymond,
tries to dodge me on that
You
one.
right now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for asking that question, you awful person, you. What is your best feature?
I don't know. Maybe. Hard to say. Persistence, maybe. I don't know.
Persistence. What's your worst? Your worst feature?
Maybe persistence.
The double-edged sword of persistence. Well, you don't build a foundation and call it the Gary Sinise Foundation without a little persistence. Your favorite meal, Gary?
Oh, dear. Gosh, maybe one of my favorite meals is chicken piccata.
Chicken piccata.
Yeah.
Well, see, I evade that
And
because I like anything Italian. So my favorite meal is one I get to eat with family or friends. That's my
There
favorite
you
meal.
go. Well, yeah.
Like the one I had last night with somebody.
But my dad used to make chicken piccata, and that's a good meal. But I like a lot of food, so who knows?
What do you fear, Gary?
Failure, maybe. Maybe loss.
Your greatest virtue is what? What do you consider the greatest virtue? Not your greatest virtue, but what do you consider the greatest virtue?
Honesty, maybe.
Honesty. Why?
Well, if you're not honest, nobody's going to trust you.
Yeah. What's that old line? My great-grandmother had a line. If you lie, you cheat. If you cheat, you steal. If you steal, you're no good. I guess that's true. What could you not live without?
Air.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer, I guess. It's kind of universal, Gary.
Oxygen. Yeah.
What is your biggest regret?
Oh, gosh. I've thought about this with regards to Mac, and just wishing that I had, in those final days, I had asked him if he was afraid. And let him talk to me a little bit more, but neither of us wanted to go there, I don't know if that's my biggest regret, but when I think of it, I wished I'd, before he was unable to speak again, because he lost that capacity. Yeah. With what was going on with his lungs, it went so quickly that I wished that I had spent more time in those last days having some kind of more in-depth conversation with him about his feelings.
Yeah.
What he'd been through and what he was going through. But again, like I said, I never wanted to feel like I was giving up.
Yeah. You were in the fight, and I would argue, if you'll permit me, you helped fill his last year and those last days with great joy and accomplishment for Mac. I mean, I saw that from the little piece we did after Christmas, just on the cusp of the new year. The reaction he had to that and the pride he had in that, showing it to other people, and that was all you're doing. So, and it was the culmination of his work.
And his mom and his two sisters, he loved them so much, and they loved him so much, and we all pulled together, and they were a big part of everything, no question. And without their support, I couldn't have gone through everything I was doing, and they were helping Mac in so many ways, so many beautiful ways.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The one I always give this one to like young actors who ask me for advice.
Yeah.
And I save your money.
Is that the best piece, Gary? Save your money. That's to all the broke actors out there. A little. I know the feeling.
Right. Save your. Things are good today, but they might not be good tomorrow.
Save your money.
Save your money.
Okay, I guess it's good advice. If you could not do what you're doing now, what would you like to do?
These are difficult questions because I don't ever think about that. I'm fairly I'm at peace with what I'm doing. I've done a lot of things in my life with a career, and I've got a great family. My family is great. I maybe spend more and more time with my family, I'm still trying to accomplish a lot with the foundation work and the band and supporting the troops, and that takes me away sometimes. And, you know, my wife is just the best person I know, and, you know, and I look at how she has sacrificed for this mission that I've been on, because she spent a lot of time without me there because I've been going somewhere to do something. And she's a real hero and my biggest champion. You know, her brother served in Vietnam, and she always wanted me to go out there and try to make sure that our service members know they're appreciated, because her brothers didn't get that when they came home, and so she's been backing me up every step of the way. So just spending more time with them, and that, you know, that's the important thing, and the grandkids and all that.
Final question. What happens when this is over? Not the interview, this life.
Well, I hope I'll be welcomed. And Lord will say, good job.
I think you'll not only be welcomed, you'll hear familiar music, maybe Arctic Circles played when you get there. My friend, so great to see you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Raymond.
Tunnel to Towers founder Frank Siller answered the questionnaire as well. Who's the person you most admire?
My mother and father, two of them.
Who's the person you most despise?
Osama bin Laden.
What is the best feature that you have and the worst?
My best feature is my faith, and the worst is I get very angry when I see bad things happen.
I share that with you. What do you fear, Frank?
I fear I feel better today than I ever did, but I fear that America is moving away from what has made us great, which is sacrificing and our faith, and that we are, you know, a Judeo-Christian country and born from that, and that we have to have that understanding to stay in the greatness that we have. So that is my biggest concern. But I do feel better now, I'll be honest with you. I do feel that people are coming back to faith. I see it all the time, the people I deal with all the time. I'm around it all the time. The people that, you know, we just did a groundbreaking in Bayville, New Jersey, where 2,000 people came out to see us break ground on a piece of property that we're going to be doing for homeless vets. 2,000 people. Wow. Yes, so I see that, and if you were there, you could feel the amount of energy and love and concern and commitment people have. So, you know, I do feel good about America. I feel so good about America. I feel like we're heading in a really good direction, but we got to be careful because we can't forget, you know, how we got here, and we got to have our faith. Faith is
well. I love that Tunnel to Towers is really a vehicle for so many people to express not only their belief and to reverence the sacrifice of all these people. It's a beautiful way to do that. What's the greatest virtue, Frank?
Love.
What is your greatest regret?
Regrets, I've had a few, but too few to mention. You know, look, we all make mistakes growing up, you know, on things, but I'm married for 47 years. I have 3 beautiful children, 7 grandchildren. You know, I'm sorry my brother's gone. It kills me. I think about him every single day. But I can't change that. I don't have many. We all have small regrets. You know? There's no question about it, but I'd have nerve to complain.
I love that. What do you know that other people don't know, Frank Siller?
Well, I don't know about that because I'm not that smart. You know, I built the first smart home. I want to say I built a smart home not because I'm smart, because I got somebody smart to do it. You know, I think I realized I surround myself with just good people and talented people, and that's how we get it done. I consider myself like Tom Sawyer a little bit. I got a lot of people to paint the fence for me, and they come back and say, "Look what Frank Siller did." No, it's all these people painting the fence that are doing it. I'm just a spokesperson for them.
That's so great. The best piece of advice you ever received is what, Frank?
The best piece of advice that I ever. I tell you, there's something I live by, and when I'm angry, I do wait a day or two before I confront something. My father, who was not a very patient person, always said take a step back, before you open your mouth, because when you open your mouth, well, if you're too loaded, you could sprue terrible things. I mean, I'm not even say I live that way every day, but I try to. I try to, and it always seems like if you wait 24 hours on something, it's not as bad as it was 24 hours beforehand.
In the moment, yeah. That's great advice, actually. And particularly for hotheads like me, it's perfect.
And me.
Yeah. What's your favorite book, Frank? And the last one you read that you really enjoyed?
Well. So I continuously read a book about St. Francis of Assisi. I keep on reading more and more books about St. Francis of Assisi. Being that my parents, were live that life. I read daily prayers every single day. I love reading the Bible. I'm not Bible versed. I can't repeat the Bible or stuff, but I do like reading scripture for sure. I put in a lot of the things when I give a talk. I'm gonna call a speech a talk. I usually put scripture in it. Because I relate it to how I'm supposed to do things. So I'm a big reader, but I read more inspirational books and stories all the time. But it all relates around faith.
What happens when this is over, Frank?
Well, first of all, this is never going to be over. The foundation. That's a promise. That we're building it to last forever. I got young Stephen Jr. working here.
Wow.
I got other family members involved because this is a family foundation. Yet we have, hundreds and hundreds of employees too, because we do build houses all over. We do with the homeless veterans. We have case managers that have to work with these great heroes. So this foundation will never be over. I'll expire like we all do, right? I care about it all the time. I tell my kids I could be gone tomorrow. You just got to be ready. Because we do not know the day nor the hour, right? As it says. So I'm not worried about the foundation because the work we're doing is always going to be necessary because there's always going to be heroes dying for us.
John Rich took on the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire with fascinating answers. Who is the person you most admire?
My dad.
Why?
Because he is unyielding and relentless.
You took the lesson well, my friend. Who's the person you most despise?
Right now, Sean Combs and anybody like him.
What is your best feature?
Loyalty.
And your worst?
Which one should I pick?
Pick a card, any card.
I would say rushing to judgment.
The last great book you read, and your favorite book. I think I know the answer to this one.
Well, I mean,
discounting the Bible, because I know that's
not counting the Bible.
Yeah.
Hillbilly Elegy is one of my all-time favorite books. To be honest with you,
book.
Yeah, it reminds me of
Great book.
Where I grew up, my people.
The American people.
Yeah.
What do you fear, John?
Something happening to my kids.
We all fear that, all of us. The greatest virtue is what?
Patience.
I think we have a shared lack of that, John,
no
if I
doubt.
had to guess.
No doubt.
What the word you could not live without?
Idiot. I say that word a lot every day. Look at this idiot.
Oh,
Sometimes I'm looking in the mirror and go, look at this idiot.
Oh, no, you shouldn't do that. If you could live anywhere, where would you live?
Probably just outside of Yellowstone.
Wow, except in the winter.
No, in the winter too.
Gets a little deep in
That's
the winter.
fine with me.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it out there.
Beautiful country.
Good air.
Beautiful country. What is your biggest regret, John?
Not
There it
jumping
is.
that train and getting the hell out of this interview.
We're almost done. Your biggest regret, John, besides jumping the train?
Biggest regret, probably disrespecting my father in my youth. I've apologized since then, but still, I regret it.
The best piece of advice you ever got was what?
You're never truly free until you can say no.
Who gave it to you?
Larry Gatlin.
Wow. You're never truly free until you can say no. I love that.
That's right.
If you could not do what you're doing now, if you weren't a singer and a songwriter, what would you be? What would you like to do? What else were you called to do, do you think?
Something where I can inspire people, whatever that would be. I've always thought if I'd ever gone into the military, I would have been a guy that would have really probably enjoyed that and excelled at it. Being around other really competent people, younger ones especially, bringing them up. I don't know that it would have been military, but something that would have put me in a spot where I can communicate like that.
Final question. What happens when this life is over?
When this life is over, every single human being that's ever lived stands directly in front of the Son of God, and he will either say, come on in, or he'll say, depart from me, I never knew you. One or the other. And the only way you get into heaven is by submitting your entire life and will to Jesus Christ. Going to church will not get you in. Academia about the Bible will not get you in. All of your philosophy will not get you in. Doing good deeds will not get you in. If that was the case, the thief on the cross would have never gone into heaven. That's what happens when you die.
Well, you're on your way there, my friend. God bless you. Great to see you, John.
Yes,
a pleasure.
See you
Thank
next time. Hat looks good.
I'm never taking it off now.
Here's
least in town.
Give me one of these. There you go.
Thank you, John. Legendary singer Lee Greenwood also answered our questionnaire. Who is the person you most admire?
Maybe Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Why Eisenhower?
You remember he was a 5-star.
Yeah.
He was a man that had to make decisions that no one else would want to make.
Yeah. In a snap.
After the first wave in Normandy, he asked his chief of staff, what are the losses? And he said 90%. He said, send the second wave. That takes courage. It takes foresight to know that he would end the war by stopping the Germans in France. If he didn't do that, many more would have died later on.
Yeah.
And then he became president of the United States. A man of great value. He knew faith.
Yeah.
And if he didn't know faith, he wouldn't be able to send those men to their death.
No, even Roosevelt called it the Great Crusade. He called that particular invasion the Great Crusade. Interesting. Who is the person you most despise? This is a tough one.
Ooh.
That's harder than the first, Lee.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Don't look at that camera, Lee. Look at me. Keep your eyes here.
I'm on. I don't think I can say that.
Okay.
You know, the very few people that there's a psalm in the Bible. It's Psalm 32. It's about forgiveness, and I've had some people do me wrong, and I forgive them, and I don't want to mention their names.
That's a great answer. No one's ever given me that answer, and it's my favorite answer to that. Okay. What is your best feature?
I think my distinctive voice. We all have distinctive voices, the voice print. And I was telling my tech that I was in a store the other day and just talking to the clerk, and somebody reminded me, you're Lee Greenwood, aren't you? And so my voice, you know, I think that's my distinctive feature.
What's your worst feature?
I'm too short.
That can be cured.
I would give
voice you can't replace.
I would give anything to be 5'10". I could have been a basketball player.
No.
Yeah.
You're just perfect the way you are. Your favorite meal?
Oh, fried chicken.
Fried chicken. Even after cooking it, you still have a
fried chicken
for it.
And my wife's lasagna.
Wow.
She makes great lasagna and pumpkin pie.
What do you fear?
Losing my voice.
Have you ever lost it?
Yes, I have. Working too hard. For 4 or 5 years, doubling gigs in Vegas, and actually lost my voice, and I had to stop for about 3 months, and finally came back.
People don't realize how tender it is. I sing a little bit on the side, Lee, and I that's why I worship what you do, and I don't know how you do it, because people don't realize you use it every moment, and it reflects every part of how you're feeling that day, your emotional state. It's all there.
I can normally be 90%. A few times I'm 100%, but mostly 90%. In the early days of my recording career, I was probably 100% most of the time.
Wow. The greatest virtue is what, in your estimation?
Honesty.
Honesty. Why?
Because you can't ever live a lie.
The word you could not live without, Lee Greenwood?
God.
It's a good answer, too. If you could live anywhere but Nashville, where would it be and why?
I think the west coast of Florida.
Pretty.
Because it's far enough below Tampa, where we have a place in Anna Marie Island.
Oh, you're out there already.
Yeah, and it's the beautiful beaches. There could be anywhere in the world. There's nothing more beautiful than the West Coast.
Beautiful beaches.
And it's
more
more
hurricanes in the Gulf, Lee.
Yeah, we had a couple recently, and we were fine.
Okay.
But it just, I need the sunshine on my face. As I get older, I'm very white. I'm a real Caucasian. I'm Irish, English, Scottish. And
so you like your sunlight.
I got to have a little bit of a tan.
What is your biggest regret, Lee?
Not writing God Bless USA sooner during Vietnam.
Wow.
That's when they needed it.
The best piece of advice you ever received was what?
Finish big.
Who gave it to you?
My mother.
Wow.
She said, I don't care what you do in the beginning or in the middle, finish big.
Wow. Great advice.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it.
Finale.
The finale. If you could not do what you're doing, if you couldn't sing, what else would you like to have done? Or think you would have been really good at?
I would like to have been a soldier. I think I would have been good in the military. I was 3A in the draft. So the draft goes back to Vietnam years, and I'm not old. But otherwise, maybe a builder. I mean, my stepfather, Louis D'Antonoli, taught me a lot about building. My mother married him when I was 14, and he was a wonderful man. I knew him till his death. And we built motels around Disneyland. That's when I was living in California at the time. And I learned carpentry, and there's a certain thing when you finish something, you get it done, and it's up in there, it's a structure. A man has built something like
the satisfaction of that.
Yeah, the satisfaction.
When this is over, what happens?
When what is over?
Life is over.
Oh, life is over.
Not this interview. I know what happens after this interview. You can go have a drink and eat and be done with these bothersome questions. I know what happens after that.
No.
But what happens when this life is over?
Well, hopefully, I will see Jesus Christ. That's a dream of every Christian. Atheists might not say that, but I do believe there's life that I can face later. I'll have to face my sins, and standing before God and opens the book and said, "This is what you did right and what you did wrong." I hope that I've lived a life that's fair and equitable for the people that have treated me so well.
Comic legend Tommy Dreesen also grabbed the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire by both horns and dove in. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I do a little questionnaire.
Okay.
And these are rapid fire.
Take your time.
Okay. The person you most admire, Tom, is whom?
My dream would have been that the person I most admire was me. But I never lived up to that. Wow, that's really the person I most admire. I know this is going to sound hokey to a lot of people, but even as a little boy, I wanted to talk to Jesus. I can't believe that this guy at age 30, he only preached 3 years. He never went
the town.
35 miles outside of his own town. And what he did, this incredible thing. I wanted to ask him so many questions, and I admired the courage that he went to the cross, the courage, the beatings, the ridicule, the spitting on him, and that life changed the lives of so many. So yeah, I would have to go there.
What is your best feature? Keep it clean, Tom.
I think it's always that I really do like people, and I really do like making them laugh. You know, all the time I had the cancer, I never told anybody at my country club. I never told anybody there, because every time I walk in, they'd, hey, here's Tommy, what's the new joke? Tell us the new latest joke. I didn't want people looking at me with puppy eyes saying, how you doing? Is it okay?
Yeah.
You're going to be fine?
That's the worst.
Yeah. But so I think it's that I I really do enjoy people, and I enjoy being around them.
And entertaining them.
And I tell you, Raymond, I could be feeling, if I was home for a few days, I'm a bachelor now, you know, I'm divorced, my ex-wife passed away, but if I'm at home for a couple of days, and maybe I'm not feeling good for some reason or the other, but if I go out and all of a sudden I'm with some people, I feel good. I'm a people person.
What's your worst feature?
My temper on the golf course.
Only on the golf course?
Yeah, well, I'm Irish Italian. There's a war going on inside of me.
I know that. I recognize that war, but believe me, personally,
the Irish guy says, don't get mad at him, buy him a drink. And the Italian guy said, buy him a drink and then beat the hell out of him.
Your greatest regret?
Wow, that's a good question. My greatest regret. My greatest regret is that when I went through a divorce, I wish I would have done it better. I wish I would have. Frank Sinatra told me when I was going through my divorce, he said, I went into Vegas, we were working at the MGM Grand. He said, hey, you bringing the wife with you? I said, no, Frank, we're getting a divorce. And he said, Tommy, I can't give you any advice on marriage, but I can give you advice on divorce. He said, stay friends with her. Not for you, not for her, but for the children. Stay friends with her. And I didn't. We had a bitter divorce. We later talked for a little while, and then we didn't. And I carry this to my grave, and I say a prayer for her every night, because I wish without her I wouldn't have had my children, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren. I wish I would have been friendlier to her. That's my greatest regret, and I feel real bad about that.
Wow. What's the greatest piece of advice you ever got?
The greatest advice I ever got was probably from the books. I read literally hundreds of books on the powers of the mind, but that this is your universe, and you're in charge of this universe. This is your universe. That you don't have to, you are careful what you put in here, so be careful what you put in here. Negative thoughts are dirt. You don't have to, they'll flow into your mind. You don't have to let them flourish, you know. So you are in control of this universe of what goes in here and what goes in here. When I'm giving motivation talks, I take a glass of water and I pour dirt in it and I stir it up and I say, drink this. Somebody drink this. And they won't. I said, you won't put filth in here. Why would you put filth in here? If you won't drink dirt, why would you think dirt? You can get negative thoughts out of your mind and replace them with positive thoughts. That's great advice, because it shows you that this is the universe you've been given, and you're in charge of it. You really are. You have more power. You are far more powerful than you realize.
If you could not do what you're doing now, entertaining people, making them laugh, bringing them joy, what would you do?
If I couldn't do that, I probably, I probably maybe been a writer. I really like the military. The military saved my life in a lot of ways. I was a raggedy kid. I went in the military. The first time in my life, I had 3 squares a day. First time in my life, I was equal to everybody. They shaved all of our heads, and we all had the same clothes on. I'd been a raggedy, poor kid. I really love America. I've been around the world. I love this country. It is the greatest country, and the people that put us into this position, those people who founded this country, who wrote that Constitution, those are brilliant human beings. The men and women who died, in World War II, that if we lost that war, you want to argue with me about wars, you can argue with me about every war you want. You can't argue with me about World War II. That if we lost that war, there was no doubt what Hitler had in mind for us, no doubt what Tojo had in mind for us. Those men and women, the women that went to work and went to war, and the men that they were heroes to me. Again, I think I just love this country. I wish maybe I would like to have been a politician that would, in a way, that's kind of one who really believed in the Constitution,
his principles,
really believed in the
principles
principles.
of the country,
Harry Truman once said, show me a politician who comes out of office with more money than he went in with, and I'll show you a crook.
We got a lot of them today.
And they're all coming out with more money.
That's right. Here's Tim Conway Jr. answering our Arroyo Grande questionnaire. Very quickly, some Arroyo Grande questions I ask.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Right.
Who's the person you most admire?
Probably my daughter.
Why?
Because she's the most perfect person, and I don't know how that happened. Because her mom spent a lot of time with her, I spent a lot of time with her, and she surprises us all the time. And I would say that it would be my daughter. She is the most beautiful person inside and out. She treats people properly. She's nice to her friends. And the greatest thing in the world, you know, I was never going to have kids. Then we had a daughter in 2005. And by a billion light years, I get goosebumps talking about it. It's the greatest thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah. Oh, no, it makes you a man.
Yeah. And real quickly, somebody, she works at a school, and some kid was talking poorly about their mom, and she said, hey, that's not, you should never do that in life. I don't know where she got that from. Not from me, not from her mom. She created that.
Wow.
But I'd say my daughter.
Well, she got it from the love of her parents.
Maybe.
What is the thing that Tim Conway Jr. knows that no one else knows?
Oh, that's great. That I never win at the racetrack.
After all those years, after all that math, crunching those darn numbers and nothing, broke.
I am a loser at the track.
Sorry.
I lose all the time.
Okay, what's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice, I would say don't panic. You know, never panic. And I told it to my daughter. Whatever happens, never panic. It's not going to get you anywhere.
What's your favorite book and the last great book you read?
Oh man! First of all, the racing form is
That's wonderful. And
yeah.
Superman Edition 4.
Right. Somebody asked me to write a book. I go, I don't even read them. How am I going to do? Write one? Get the hell out of here.
The old Groucho Marx line. You know,
Right, yeah.
I just finished a book. I think I'm going to read another one. You know, it's this old.
Right.
Final question: what happens when this is over?
Oh, you mean radio or life?
I let you interpret it.
Okay. Radio, we've done everything we needed to do. I would feel if we walked away tomorrow, I'd be, totally happy with it. Because, we got to afternoon drive on the biggest station in the biggest market.
Incredible.
And we won #1 on Barrett's 2 years in a row. And that's like the Bible of talk radio. And so we've touched that.
You hit the top.
Right. But after life, I can't wait to run into grandparents, parents, and run. I think they're all up there.
Me too.
I do.
And I can't wait to see your dad and Harvey Korman again.
Oh, that's right.
Just to watch Harvey Korman break up and not be able to hold it together for a second.
I quite often have a dream about my dad, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, where I go to the racetrack, he's there, we spend the day at the racetrack, and I'm going back down the escalator through the clouds. He goes, why don't you just stay? I said, no, I got a daughter, I got a wife. I'll see you in a couple of years.
Oh, I love
But
that.
that's like a reoccurring dream.
Really?
Yeah. Then I can take an escalator up to the clouds, go to the racetrack with my dad, and then come back.
And come back for a little bit.
It's weird. It's odd.
It's beautiful, actually.
But eventually, I'm going to be staying up in the clouds.
That's right. Eventually, you'll be able to stay at the track with him. That's not a bad way to go.
That's right.
Tim Conway Jr., thank you.
You
so
are the
much
best. Thank you very much. It was so cool to have me on, and I love you with Laura.
Well, I love you back. So it's a mutual. It's mutually beneficial.
Ding dong with you.
Thank you, my friend. Great to see you. And actor Billy Baldwin also took the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Who's the person you most admire?
Oh my goodness. There's 5 answers, but the first one would be Christ or my wife.
I thought you would say your dad.
Yeah, he would be on the very short list. It would be Christ, my wife, my mother and father, my 3 children.
What's your best feature?
Certainly not giving short answers.
I noticed that.
Yeah. I tell stories and
That's
I
a good
digress.
look.
And all of a
I
sudden I'm
love
like,
this.
Hold on, it's coming back around.
Okay, we're coming.
I'm about
Here we go.
to get there.
And there it is.
No, I think my
best feature.
Best feature is I'm going to answer in a way that's probably not true, but it's it's sort of all the same thing, but my desire to grow, to learn, not being afraid to be wrong, not being afraid to ask a question, to show that I don't know the answer. That's something that I like about myself, but I also want to get better about.
What does Billy Baldwin know that others don't know?
I have a really, really bad answer for that.
Come on, give it to me.
I was going to say I could show you, but somebody might lose an eye. Clip, cut that. That did not happen. And, what was the question?
The question was, what do you know that other people don't know? Not what do you have that other people don't have. Clarify the question.
What do I know that other people don't know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
What's your biggest regret?
I don't have any major regrets, but having said that, if I could go back and do it again, there are things that I would change. Some things in my marriage, some things with child rearing, a couple of things with my career. One of the things that I will tell parents that is beautiful is my wife has had one-on-one time with each of our children. She doesn't say, Daddy and Billy and Mommy jump in the car with Jameson. She has one-on-one time with Jess Jameson, with Jess Vance, with Jess Brooks. Not all 5 of us, not 3 of us. And it could be, let's go for a beach walk. Let's take out the trash. Let's walk the dog. And you could go walk the dog for 10 minutes or 15 minutes without uttering a word. You don't have to get to solve life's problem. Do you have a crush? Have you ever tried drugs? It doesn't, you could walk in silence. Just one-on-one time with your child individually will create a bond. She's hijacked my 3 children from me. They're like, not even my kids anymore. She owns all 3 of them. That number 1. Number 2, do not give your kids a smartphone. Until we should have given our kids a clamshell that dialed 5 or 10 numbers, so you can call or text grandma, mommy, daddy, 3 of your friends.
But no pictures, no social media.
No access to the internet, no social media, no bullying. And I would say, because the great thing about it is when my daughter would go to State Street with her friends when she was 12, I would text her and say, yo, or sup. And she would write back, yo, sup. And that just meant, I hear you, I'm here, everything. If there was a complaint or she was worried or she was scared, she would have already called, but I'm just checking in. And if you don't answer and I say sup again and another half hour goes by, you're in trouble.
Final question.
So they should have those because they're like a tether.
Gizmos.
They're like having a nanny, but no access to the internet and no access to social media.
I just had a child psychologist on tell me the same thing. And boy, she sees it in practice.
It's contributing to the mental health
Final
crisis.
question, what happens when this is over?
Well, like me, I'd like all of you to go to noaddressmovie.com, see the film. Hopefully it'll inspire you and motivate you and hit that switch of compassion and empathy that'll make you take action in any way, shape, or form in your community.
To be engaged, no matter where you are.
Engaged.
I love
Be
it.
of service.
Billy Baldwin, thank you. Director John Irwin earnestly engage the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. These are real quick questions because I know you got to go, and you've done it, and you've got many more people to see.
It's a great conversation.
Arroyo, I ask everybody these Arroyo. It's my Arroyo Grande Questionnaire.
Okay, great.
You ready?
This is what's the interview?
James Lipton.
James Lipton. What is your favorite swear word?
That's right. I won't ask you that one.
I
Who's the person you most admire?
Who is the person I most admire? I would say that I admire many people. Like, I love a great biography, and I love to learn from the stories of others. So, of course, I think right now in the moment that I'm in, I would say David. Probably 6 months from now when I'm directing this movie, I would say George Washington. But I
you
think
may say Martha Washington.
Who knows? But there's something about gleaning from other people's stories, and a lot of that is whatever story I'm presently telling, or maybe a book I've read. But I'm fully immersed in the story of David right now.
What is your best feature?
My best feature? Probably, I'll tell you this. This is the under-celebrated virtue.
Okay.
Curiosity. I think if you can combine curiosity with pain tolerance, there is not much that you can't achieve if you can just be constantly learning. And so I think I live my life with a level of curiosity and learning all the time. And I think when that is met with a level of determination, there are a few things that you can't achieve.
What's your worst feature?
Oh my gosh, my worst feature is probably just the uncontrollable personality of the artist. Like if you're like I'm an ADHD nightmare, but my biggest battles are within. Not my biggest battles are with myself. Sometimes I feel like I'm the greatest villain to my own story, you know, and that's I think one of the reasons why I like telling stories, whether it's David or whether it's Jesus Revolution. I like these stories of imperfect people that are very flawed that God still uses, because I feel like I fit right in. You know?
We all do.
Yeah.
What is the thing you know that others don't know?
I know, boy, that's a great question and a loaded question.
It is.
I know that you know what? I think the thing that that would be most helpful to people listening is I know that it just takes longer than you think, in the sense that the spark of curiosity for David happened when I was 16 years old. The first script I wrote for a movie on David was in 2012. And success is long obedience in the same direction. If you genuinely feel like you're called to do something, just keep going. It's going to take a lot longer than you think, and then you're going to get to this breakthrough moment. And I think there's not a lot of failures in terms of stories. There's just a lot of incomplete stories, in the sense of there's not a lot of bad films, there's just unfinished films, sometimes we say. And I think sometimes people give up, and you never know when that breakthrough moment where the fog clears was right around the corner.
And you stop too early.
And you stop too early. So if I can give any advice to anybody, is if you really feel like you're supposed to do something, as long as you're learning, as long as you're curious, don't give up. You just never know when that moment is right around the corner.
Final question. What happens when this is over?
Oh man, I take a nap, I think is, but I'll tell you what I really dream of, and this is the dream of the Wonder Project, is you think about the most profound outcome that could come from all this. Somebody should make a documentary sometime of the 25-year mayhem that has led to Faith Film and the reemergence of this type content and the yahoos that God has used to do it. But my hope, the outcome that I would be most like, this made the journey worth it, is if you watch the House of David trailer, the first title card that comes up is the MGM logo, Leo the Lion. It says 100 years of entertainment. My hope is that a lot of these successes for movies and television can coalesce into an institution that can last 100 years and really allow us to tell these stories on a global scale long after I'm not able. So I joke around that I'd love to see a studio last 100 years. I'd love to get it halfway. If Clint Eastwood can do it, I can do it, you know. But the idea is that would be a transcendent outcome, that my hope and prayer and strong belief is that there's now this group of creatives, and we're willing each other on to success. We're competing in the best sense of the word, just trying to one-up each other. Like, you know, I remember seeing every version of Dallas Jenkins' scene of Walking on the Water. I was shooting the Jesus Revolution movie with Keese, his DP, so we were looking at every version on Keese's phone, and I was calling Dallas, but that was I feel that that's the best version of the Walking on the Water that I've ever seen. It was so well done, and that just makes me want to like one up him with David and Goliath. I'm like, wait till you see David and Goliath. But that's happening, and my hope is that the work that we're doing as a group of friends and partners and collaborators right now will sort of break the dam, as it were, to allow creatives to come behind us and have their voices heard. And that would be the most inspiring goal. And to have any role in something that's emerging right in front of you, like, is a privilege. And to bleed on the bleeding edge, to be in the arena at all, is a great privilege.
Well, John, it was not lost on me. Leo the Lion opened the movie, and David confronts Leo in the movie, but I'm not going to tell you what happened.
Isn't that amazing?
Pretty amazing.
I just think that was actually one of the things that Samuel says to David in the show. God doesn't look on the outward appearance; He looks in the heart. That's what's in the Bible. And then we add, and you have the heart of a lion. You know, and what do lions do? They roar. He tells them. And so the fact that the trailer opens with Leo the Lion and MGM is a good omen, I think.
It is indeed.
So it's great.
John Irwin,
great interview. We could have talked for hours.
Eye care pioneer Dr. Ming Wang offered beautiful answers to the Arroyo Grande Questionnaire. Who is the person you most admire?
I admire Einstein.
Why?
Yeah, because he is thinking out the box. he was thinking out the box. That before him, we recognize space is three-dimensional, 3x, y, z.
Yeah.
He was able to think four-dimensional, including the time. So thinking out the box, overcoming our natural instinct, I think that's how human being can progress. And Einstein's best example.
Who is the person you most despise?
Adolf Hitler. Because his self-proclaimed superiority, which is human nature, by the way, as I said, we are so polarized because we like to think I'm better than the next person, and he has taken that to an extreme.
What is your best feature?
My best feature?
Yeah.
I'm not the smartest. I'm like medium-high IQ, but I recognize I can be the best student. So I'm actually learning all the time. I give you my little book, 事半功倍, how I learned from some very successful business people.
Yes.
Like today's interaction with you, I'm learning from you. I'm observing.
I'm learning a lot from you.
But I'm observing, I'm thinking while you're effective in what you do. So my best feature is I'm the good student.
What's your worst feature?
Worst feature, probably being a workaholic. And it's very difficult. In my autobiography, I talk about some imbalance between work and family. And because I'm so driven by work to help these kids, and it's a challenge how to achieve the balance.
That balance is always difficult. Yes. I think for every mother or father, it's hard. What is your favorite meal?
Favorite meal? I think it's a southern Chinese dish with some spice and some tofu, lots of vegetables, lots of green.
Good for the eyes.
Good for the eyes. Vitamins C and E, A and E. That's my favorite dish.
Wow. Tell me, what do you fear, Doctor?
I fear that human nature, allow our human nature, the polarizing nature, the self-proclaimed superiority, that take control better of us. And human beings just sliding into the deadly spiral of polarization and self-destruction.
Into the abyss.
Yes.
What's the last great book you read?
Great question. I think one of the last great books I read is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And what I learned here is this. Sometimes I argue with someone and say, hey, Johnny, this is wrong. And I couldn't get anywhere. And Dale Carnegie said, you know what? If you have good things to say, say it. If you only have bad things to say, don't bother. So if I can't change Johnny's mind, let him be. Because the only person I can change on this planet is myself.
That's wise. That's wise. What is the word you could not live without?
I think love for me, because it's. For example, I love dancing, ballroom dancing. People say, "Oh, it's exercise." Yes, but it is the love for music, love for that moment, transcendental moment, where we bring the beautiful costumes and music together to experience a deep passion among human beings for those beautiful things in our life. So that love for music and beauty, love for family, love for my work to help those blind orphan children is what drives me. And love for humankind itself, that to recognize we need to overcome polarization, find the common ground.
What is the greatest virtue in the world? What's the greatest virtue?
Humbleness. Humbleness. It's very difficult because we tend to, as human beings, we learn something, myself included. I think I know this, I know that. But to recognize what I still don't know is the greatest virtue.
What's your biggest regret? Do you have one?
I probably would desire to have been more balanced work and family. That is probably my biggest regret.
The best piece of advice you ever received was what?
In my little book, 事半功倍, I met a professor, and he always got the diagnosis right. We are arguing, oh, this eye problem could be this. And he walked in, Dr. Savino, he comes in, he said, this one. And I said, Dr. Vino, how did you get it right? I want advice. This is what he said. He said, Ming, as human beings, we tend to swim among uncertainties. Or it could be this, or it could be that. But I change my nature of such. I deliberately do something different. I'll go into a situation where you're all arguing about uncertainties. Or this next month you do this programming, or maybe this programming audience like more, and blah, 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 different possibilities. I change my focus from looking at the uncertainties to looking for, is anything certain here? There'll be only one or two certainties, and then I hang my head on top of that. So overcome a human natural tendency of swimming around among uncertainties, but deliberately, rationally, logically look for certainties. Albeit it could be few. It's the best advice I've learned.
Great advice. If you could not do what you're doing, what do you think you would do? What would you like to do?
Yeah,
I think I know.
If I'm not a eye doctor today, I probably will be a erhu player, the Chinese violin. I love it. I love music composition. I compose some songs myself. Dancer, ballroom dancer. I love ballroom dancing.
It's amazing to me, though. These are things you did out of survival. You discovered them out of survival.
Yeah.
But you found a deep passion in both of them.
Yes, and sometimes I say, how come, right? Here's interesting. If we like something as human beings, we have to deeply appreciate it. We have different ways to appreciate it. It could be something grandfather inherited, right? Imprinted. Or it could be something that through life experience, we learned the importance of it. In my case, I learned the dancing and also music instrument out of need to survive. So they are more important to me because I literally, without learning them, would not be able to survive. So they take a more importance to me than just a music instrument and hobby.
Wow, beautiful. What happens when this is over?
This meaning the work or the music?
I'll let you interpret it.
Oh, okay.
Could be this life, could be this interview. What happens when this is over?
I would say, if I interpret this as my life, I wanted to be able to make, sometimes we say, what's the purpose? I'm in study science and medicine. These are tools. What's the purpose? To help those kids? Yes. But overall, all of these, what I do, I have one single purpose behind all of this medical work.
Which is?
Is to help make this world a little better place to live when I leave.
One of these days, I'm going to answer the whole questionnaire. But for now, I'm going to take a bat at this one. What is the best book you've read recently? I think it would be Graham Greene's A Life in Letters. If you don't know who Graham Greene is, he's really one of the greatest authors in the English tongue. I've read all of his books multiple times, 3 biographies, his short stories, even his film reviews I've gone through. But this was a fantastic book because it allowed you behind the veil. His bouts with faith, his romantic entanglements. The end of the affair was only barely fiction, boys and girls. There is a great line in the letters that I found myself highlighting. Writing a novel is a little like putting a message in a bottle and flinging it into the ocean. Unexpected friends or enemies retrieve it. It's food for thought. Okay, to fulfill my promise, that sketch that we opened the show with was based on Abbot-and-Costello's Who's on First, which they called baseball. That's how they labeled it. It evolved when the team hit vaudeville, and it's based on a lot of those wordplay sketches of the day. This particular sketch, and it constantly evolved. They never did it the same way twice. It dates back from the 1930s. Watch.
Well, let's see now. We have on our team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out, the guy's name. That's what I want to find out, the guy's name.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Now, Abbott, you going to be the manager of the baseball team?
Yes.
You know the guy's names?
Oh, I should.
Well, you tell me the guy's names on the baseball team.
I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You ain't saying nothing to me yet. Go ahead and tell me.
I'm telling him.
You ain't said nothing yet. Go ahead and tell me.
Who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
You know the guy's names on the baseball team?
Yes.
Well, go ahead. Who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the guy's name.
Who?
The guy playing first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
Now, wait a minute,
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's his name.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
That's it. That's his name.
Well, you ain't said nothing. I ain't asked you nothing.
You did.
You know the guy's name on first base?
Sure.
Well, tell me the guy's name on first base.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who is on first, Lou?
What are you asking me for?
Don't get excited. I'm saying who.
I'm asking you a simple question. Who's on first?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yes.
I'm asking you, what's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no, what's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base hitter.
They are comic geniuses, you know, and it's rare to find comics who go on the road and work material for this long. They did it for a decade before they bring it to a mass audience. I mean, they worked it in radio, they worked it in vaudeville, they worked it on the road, then they finally brought it to TV. I hope you'll come back to Arroyo Grande soon. Why live a dry, constricted life when if you fill it with good things, it can flow into a broad, thriving Arroyo Grande? I'm Raymond Arroyo. Make sure you subscribe, like this episode. Thank you for diving in, and we'll see you next time. Arroyo Grande is produced in partnership with iHeart Podcasts and is available on the iHeart Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.